On the soft tyres in the second session, there was at points where it looked quite special. We of course know that qualifying is so important round here. Does that one lap pace give you encouragement for Saturday?
Yeah, the one lap pace was strong, yeah, as I said, whatever compound we were on, I was feeling quite comfortable, and the lap time was coming pretty quickly, so that's always a good sign. As you said, qualifying is going to be fundamental around here, and we've got to be starting in front if we want to hope for a good result.
Have a Formula One pilot predicted a disaster and then offered a master spectacle? That is exactly what Charles Leclerc did in Monaco 2025. But how did he happen that the possibilities are low to clearly lead each session? Today we unravel the mystery behind this masterful performance. Before the SF-25 touched the asphalt of Monte Carlo, Charles Leclerc made it clear that optimism was not exactly the dominant mood in Ferrari. From Thursday's press conference, Monegasque launched a warning loaded with technical honesty. If you want a sincere response, then the possibilities are low. These words were not the product of an emotional exaggeration or a media strategy. They were the synthesis of a precise technical evaluation, based on an accumulation of data that the team had collected during the first 7 races of the 2025 calendar. The SF-25, despite its progress compared to its predecessor, drags an obvious structural weakness. Its performance is significantly degraded into circuits that require precision in slow curves and low-speed traction. Monaco, an urban circuit composed almost exclusively of low-speed curves, is possibly the most demanding scenario in that category. There are no respite areas or long lines where to compensate for deficiencies with gross power. Here, everything is reduced to the ability to put the car at the right point of braking, maintain low-speed adhesion, and manage traction with surgical precision. And that's where Ferrari has faltered. Leclerc, a deep connoisseur of the SF-25, had experienced those deficiencies in his own flesh. The previous simulations showed a significant loss of useful aerodynamic load in closed curves and poor rear train management under maximum traction. To this was added a historical difficulty of the team to adapt the suspension to potholes and characteristic elevation changes of Monaco, which further complicated the ideal setting. It was not simply that the car did not feel comfortable. It was that, in theory, I could not compete at the level of its main rivals, especially McLaren and Red Bull, who had demonstrated greater technical adaptability in those contexts during the start of the season. However, within that pessimistic vision, Leclerc slipped an observation that would be fundamental. Monaco is so unique that we can take a good surprise. That phrase, beyond its hopeful tone, encapsulated an intuition based on experience. Monaco is a circuit where paper and simulation can be wrong. Not everything can be foreseen. The characteristics of the asphalt, the evolution of the grip during the weekend, and above all, the personal confidence of the pilot, can completely alter the balance provided by the engineers. Leclerc, born and raised in the streets of Monte Carlo, has traveled this route in karts, in cars, and in Formula One. Its understanding of the circuit goes beyond the technical. It is almost instinctive. That confidence that others must build return, he brings it from home. It is an intangible but decisive factor. Recent history had already demonstrated. His victory in 2024 broke a streak of misfortunes in his home career and confirmed that when the car allows it, it is unbeatable between the walls of the Principality. That declaration of apparent hope was not just a phrase to calm the press. It was a clear sign that, although simulations and logic pointed to disaster, in Formula One there is always room for the unexpected. The Monaco track, with its peculiarities, its secrets, and its ability to humiliate forecasts, offered Leclerc a letter not yet played. And that was just what Ferrari needed, an anomaly in the system that leveled the conditions and gave pure talent the opportunity to shine on the machine. The dawn on Friday in Monte Carlo not only brought the sun filtered among the buildings of the Principality, he also marked the beginning of a radical turn in the narrative that had painted Ferrari as a safe victim of the Monegasque layout. From the first minutes of free practice 1, it was clear that something did not fit the forecasts. Charles Leclerc not only came out decision, it came out with a rhythm that disarmed any prediction based on the previous data. And it was not a matter of an isolated return. It was consistency, it was domain. He marked the best time in the first session with authority, and then repeated it in the second, further expanding the difference with his persecutors. This type of performance does not appear by magic. It is the result of a series of technical and human factors that, when aligned, create that state that in motoring is known as flow. Ferrari, to start, not only adjusted its tuning, transformed it. The engineers, led by the data collected in adaptive simulations the previous night, made brave decisions. Specific modifications in the configuration of the rear axle to improve the traction without sacrificing the behavior of the front train, millimeter touches in the height of the car to maximize the passage through the pianos without compromising the stability, and a careful work with the distribution of the weight that favored the balance in the medium sector of the circuit. But the technique, however perfect, needs an executor who understands it, to know how to interpret it precisely. That's where Charles Leclerc marked the difference. His ability to feel the car adhesion limit and adapt its return pilot allowed him to take advantage of each adjustment, from each new fuel load, of each game of tires. His almost intimate knowledge of the layout played in his favor. While other pilots needed several laps to approach the limit, Leclerc found it from the first boxes. And that is no accident. It is the result of years running in those streets, knowing exactly where you can win a tenth and where to lose everything with a millimeter error. We must also highlight the psychological context. The pilot came from a pessimistic, public and forceful statement. Loading with that weight and reversing it with immediate results is not simple. But instead of affecting it, that pressure environment seemed to release it. Leclerc's performance was not only high in terms of stopwatch, it was expressive. Each braking to the limit, each path to the millimeter, every return that improved the previous one, transmitted a confidence rarely seen in a pilot that just a few hours before admitted that the possibilities were low. The contrast was so shocking that even his rivals noticed him. Pilots like Norris and Russell, usual protagonists in practice sessions, were surprised by Ferrari's ability to generate instant speed in a circuit where the evolution of the grip is usually slow. The paddock, which on Thursday argued whether Ferrari would even get into the top 5, now murmured about the real possibility of a pole, or even a triumph. And in Monaco, more than in any other circuit, what happens in Friday's practices has a real weight. There is no margin for large settings on Saturday. What is on Friday is usually what leads to classification. Therefore, this turn was not just anecdotal. It was a declaration of intentions. Ferrari had not come to survive. Leclerc had come to win. And with each lap, with each partial in purple, it showed that the SF-25, at least for a day, was the car to beat. Ferrari's performance in the practices of the 2025 Monaco Grand Prix raises an inevitable and crucial question. Have we witnessed a genuine transformation of the SF-25 or simply a contextual anomaly that will not be repeated in other scenarios? This issue is not trivial. In modern Formula One, where data analysis is almost a religion, distinguishing between a real evolutionary leap and an exception favored by specific circumstances can make the difference between redesigning the car or momentarily capitalizing an isolated opportunity. To address this question, you must first consider the unique Monaco conditions. It is the slowest circuit of the calendar, the one that least penalizes the aerodynamic drag and where the energy efficiency of the car is less relevant than on any other track. The SF-25, designed with an approach that prioritizes stability in medium and fast curves and linear traction efficiency, has shown notorious weaknesses in low-speed circuits. However, those same weaknesses were somehow neutralized in Monaco. Ferrari did not rewrite his technical package. He optimized what he had. There was no revolution in the configuration, but a reinterpretation of its resources. The team adjusted the suspension geometries to maximize the tire contact with the asphalt at reduced speeds. He also modified the braking cast and rescheduled the delivery maps of the ERS, Energy Recovery System, to better adapt them to the stop-and-go nature of the Monegasque layout. But beyond the technical, there was an intelligent strategic approach, focusing the car operating window on a specific temperature and load range, anticipating that Monaco does not offer large oscillations in grip or weather conditions. The result was a car that seemed custom-made for Monaco, but that will not necessarily replicate this behavior on more conventional paths such as Barcelona or Silverstone, where fast curves, changes of direction at high speed and total aerodynamic efficiency are essential. That's where SF-25 has shown important limitations during the season. Another dimension that cannot be ignored is the human factor. The connection between Leclerc and the layout was a determining catalyst. There are pilots who find almost mystical harmony in certain circuits. Leclerc in Monaco is one of those cases. His knowledge of the layout, his ability to adapt to the conditions, and his full confidence in every centimeter of the asphalt created an environment where he could extract the maximum potential of the car, even beyond what the logic suggests. Therefore, is this a new stage for Ferrari or just a happy exception? The technical indications point more to the second. Despite the good results, the team has not solved its fundamental problems with the balance in high speed or with the irregular wear of the rear tires in long batches. nor have clear signs have been seen that they have unlocked a significant step in terms of net aerodynamic load, one of the pillars to be competitive in most modern paths. However, it would be a mistake to dismiss this performance as a simple chance. What Ferrari did in Monaco shows that when they succeed with the car operating window and the pilot is in perfect synchrony with the environment, they can compete at the highest level. This must be an attention call for rival teams, but also a reminder for Ferrari. If they can replicate this level of technical and emotional synergy, even sporadically, they are still very alive in the fight for the championship. After what happened on Friday in Monte Carlo, the attention now focuses on what could happen during Saturday's classification and, more crucially, in Sunday's race. In any other Formula One calendar circuit, a dominant Friday could be considered only a good start. But in Monaco, Friday's practices are more than a simple warming. They are the prelude to a weekend defined by surgical precision and almost total impossibility of overtaking track. Here, more than anywhere else, everything is decided in the tour released on Saturday. Charles Leclerc is emerging as the man to beat. He has marked the pattern with reference times in both sessions, but Saturday's challenge is different. The classification in Monaco does not forgive. It is probably the moment of greatest pressure in the whole season. Every millimeter counts. Traffic management is critical. The slightest calculation error when finding space for the fast lap can ruin a whole session. And in that context, Leclerc's local experience will be key, but so will his cold blood. He has lived huge frustrations in this same circuit. From waste wasted by mechanical errors to accidents at key moments. Know both ecstasy and disappointment that Monaco can offer. At the technical level, on Saturday will require Ferrari not only to repeat Friday's success, but also refine it more. The tire operational window must be exploited precisely. The correct heating of the front tires before the first sector is vital for marking competitive partials. And this implies synchronizing boxes outlet, track temperature, fuel loading, and the minimum possible alteration in traffic. Beyond Leclerc, the rivals know that this may be their only time to counteract. McLaren and Mercedes will desperately seek to force an error. If they cannot overcome it on the track, they will at least try to push it out of their comfort zone with aggressive clean track strategies, or blocking it in traffic in the Pittsburgh lane outputs. Everything is valid in the battle for pole in Monaco, because whoever dominates on Saturday has more than 70% chances of winning on Sunday. And that is where the tension rises. The career in Monaco, unlike other paths, does not earn running faster. You win being perfect. The outputs, the stops in boxes, the undercuts, the yellow flags, the use of the security car, each tactical element acquires a disproportionate weight. The team that knows how to anticipate neutralization, which reads the degradation of the tires better, that chooses the exact moment for the change of compound, will have the key. But no mistake is small here. A badly tight nut, a half-second one stop, can mean the loss of positions that will never be recovered. For Leclerc, the challenge does not end with pole. His story with this circuit forces him not to trust. He won in 2024, yes, but before that, every attempt had ended in tragedy or disappointment. This year, the SF-25 offers you a unique opportunity for redemption and statement. If you manage to turn this streak of good practices into a victory on Sunday, not only will you have challenged technical and media expectations, it will have shown that you can master at home, under pressure, with everything at stake. What is coming is not just a classification and a career. It is a character, precision, and resistance exam. Monaco does not give away anything. And the margin of error is so narrow that even a champion can be left out for a ninth detail. This weekend, Ferrari and Leclerc have the opportunity to turn a hopeful start into a final statement. But for this, they must be impeccable. And that, in Monte Carlo, is more difficult than anywhere else on the planet.